My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. Have a seat, fellas. I'm here today with my students at Riviera Beach Preparatory Achievement Academy. Today is November the 12th, 2024. It is Tuesday, right? And we are at the prep. So our guest is, young lady, what is your name?
Shenetria Moore.
Okay. And what branch were you in?
United States Army. Go Army.
Oh, Army. All right. Where did you serve?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. So I started, you want to know where my basic and then where I
Well, yeah,
actually, tell me, it's a whole little narrative. You got to tell me exactly what you want me to say.
Where were you born?
I was born in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
I am also a dependent of a veteran.
Oh.
So I traveled around. I actually graduated high school in Gallstadt, Germany. So I lived in Germany for 3.5 years.
So you were a military brat?
I won't say a brat. I was a military dependent, and I also am a veteran myself and come from a family of veterans.
Okay. So you did a lot of traveling when you were a kid?
Yeah, somewhat. We did some.
All right. Where'd you go?
Well, we went, my stepfather first, he had a touring career, and you weren't able to take your family into Korea. You just, but then we went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and we also lived in Germany for 3.5 years. I graduated high school in Germany.
Okay. Why did you choose the Army?
You know what, Mr. Cartwright, I did it because of the challenge. Again, I grew up in a military family, and I said, you know what, I know I can do this challenge, primarily pushing myself through the boot camp, because the boot camp back in those days was very rigid. And, also they would help me with schooling. And, I just thought it would be something great to do. Again, I grew up in a military family, and it was just something I felt like I wanted to do for the country.
When is your birthday?
July 17th.
And what city do you currently live in?
West Palm Beach, Florida.
Okay, and who else is here besides myself is Corey, Mr. Forstall, and Kanar.
We got 3 young kings in the room.
There you go. All right, so now, basically you went into the Army because your stepfather was in the Army?
Well, my mom was also in the Army as well. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I went in it because I wanted to challenge myself.
Gotcha.
And I thought it was also a good place for additional discipline. I wish there was some type of training for all 18-year-olds to go and, go in the military or go to some type of camp or something, because it really did help formulate who I am today with the discipline.
Gotcha. Where were you at the time that you decided to go into the service?
I was in school.
Where?
Clark Atlanta University.
And
ACU, CAU is what we call it.
what state?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you went in enlisted?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
You know what? I had an opportunity to go in as an officer. Again, I joined through the ROTC program.
Right.
And in the AU Center, which is Clark Atlanta, Morehouse, at that time Morris Brown, and Spelman, we were able to take classes at all of those schools.
Okay.
And Morehouse had a program, and that's where I was able to participate with their program, and they had officers, but I just decided to go through the enlisted program.
Okay. Did you ever finish your degree?
Absolutely.
And what was your career?
My degree is in business administration with a concentration in marketing. And then when I joined the service, I also had to take classes as well and get a degree with that.
And what degree did you get?
I got the 91 Alpha Medical Specialist, went to Fort Sam Houston, Texas, and trained there to be a medic.
Oh, okay. So you went into the medical field while you were in the service?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Where was basic training at?
Basic training was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, which was brutal. It was in the middle of, you know about Fort Jackson, you laughing. It was horrible.
Tell us about
it. Was in the Listen, you just want to hear those horror stories. It was in June. It was horrible.
Uh-huh.
It was swamp area. I mean,
It was hot, huh?
it was hot. It was hot.
Okay, so how'd you get through it? What
Prayer and supplication.
Okay, define that.
Lots of prayer. Again, I was always up for a lot of challenges.
Uh-huh.
I've always been physically, I like to challenge myself physically.
Right.
So, as you know, basic is not only mental toughness, but it's also physical toughness. So, I was up for those challenges and realized what was going to be required in order for me to get that job done. So, that's what I did. I put my mind in it and went to work physically.
Would it be okay if I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
During those times, like, you said you was praying, like, when you know you couldn't go nowhere, like, what was your thoughts? Like, what was your thoughts?
Well, I come from, my background is a background of faith. I grew up in the church. So my whole being is based on biblical principles. And so, you know, when you don't see a way out or you don't think you can make it, I just wish Psalms 37 was one of my favorite Psalms when I was in the military. And, you know, it really just helped me when I felt like I could not endure or I felt like I wanted to give up. I just leaned to my faith. Faith is a real thing. So my faith is what got me through.
Okay, so tech school, MOS,
91 Alpha.
what is that?
It's a medical specialist. And so because I was a medic, when I got activated and put on active duty for the first Gulf War, they sent me to Fort Riley, Kansas. Now you probably already know Fort Riley, Kansas is an infantry unit. What is infantry? Frontliners. Whenever there's a war call, everybody go. So the whole base pretty much went, and then they sent us in as replacement, but then they started sending the replacements overseas.
Okay.
And
What year was that?
That was in 1990.
Okay.
Yeah, 1990. And so because I was a medic and they were sending over medics, like one medic to every 2 to 3 soldiers because they were getting injured in the war environment. It was just a matter of moments before your number would be called. It was really pins and needles for me because they would only give you about 24 to 48 hours notice. Okay, you're going, make sure you get packed up. They're shipping you out, which is really nerve-wracking. And that's when the Psalms
So
came in.
where'd you deploy to?
I believe at that time it was Iraq, Operation Desert Storm. I think that was Iraq.
Oh, you did go overseas.
I did not go,
Oh.
but I was in the queue to go.
Oh.
My boyfriend at that time went. My neighbor that was working with me in the hospital went.
Okay.
It was just the grace, because even though I went with a particular unit, we were there to fill in the infantry because you can't leave an infantry base wide open. We went in as support for that, but then when things got really tight overseas, they had to send the support over there. And a lot of the people that came with me, they actually went overseas. It was just the grace that I did not go and be exposed to that chemical warfare.
How long was your AIT training?
I believe it was about 8 or 9 weeks.
For
9
medical?
weeks. Yes.
Okay.
In Fort Sam Houston, Texas.
And your regular basic training, how long was that? 6, 7?
Yeah, that was a beast.
So tell us about your instructors real quick before we move on to the next thing.
Mo, I had a good friend named Lo. And you know how they in the military they call you by your last name.
Right.
Mo and Lo, drop down and give me 50 push-ups,
Uh-huh.
cause she want to talk all the time, and then she want to cry when he tell us to do stuff, and I'm like, be quiet, you done already got us in trouble. So you know, when one got you in trouble, the whole group got in trouble.
Yeah, I know the feeling exactly.
And that brings me to another point. When you're in PT at 5 a.m. in the morning,
Right.
after you done had to make your bed, to the point where if you drop a coin on it, a nickel, it needs to bounce off. You got to get in position at 5 in the morning, and then you go running, and your left, if somebody fall out, you got to go all the way back and get them and keep running. So, you know, a lot of times people were mad with their fellow
No man
comrade.
left behind, right?
No man left behind. We fussing them out like, stay up, keep in line. So, I remember those things specifically.
Were there a lot of casualties in your unit?
There were, because I was replacing an infantry unit, I saw a lot of things on that base. It was horrible.
Like what?
Where should I begin? So because when you are when there's war declared, the government feels that you should do everything in your power to be prepared for that war. What does that mean? That means that if you get pregnant and there's a war declared, you can be considered AWOL with a dishonorable discharge.
Wow.
So I saw a lot of that because people were afraid. They were like, I don't care, at least I'm gonna be alive, you know. So some of the female soldiers were becoming pregnant on purpose to keep from going overseas.
Right.
The ones that were overseas, they got pregnant, they had to come back home, and then they were not honorably discharged.
Wow.
And so there were so many different dynamics,
Incredible.
and I got to see that on that infantry unit.
And what year
I got
was
some
that?
stories.
I know.
That was like 89, 90. Because I went back after that year on active duty, a year and about 15 months. I went back to school and graduated because I was getting ready to graduate my senior year in college 1 week before enrollment, and they snatched me and I had to go on active duty.
Wow.
Yeah, I was devastated my
Okay.
senior year. But one of the things I remember about that military base was the panic, you know. And then some of the times when the guys would come home, well, the panic because you're infantry, you're front line. They can call you tomorrow and say, Shenetria, pack your bags.
So they were traumatized.
Psalms 37 kept me from being traumatized.
What now?
Again, Psalms 37.
Oh, you back to the Bible.
I'm back to the Bible.
No, okay.
Because you would get 24 to 48 hour notice
Mhm.
that you're going to be deployed overseas.
Right.
And so because we were already at the infantry unit, all the other people had already left, we were next in line.
Mhm.
Okay, and I knew some people that came with me who were already shipped. So you just never knew from one moment to the next if you were going to be called next to get on that plane
Right.
to go overseas. And so it was always a panic mode. And then, you know, a lot of the spouses didn't know if their loved ones were coming back.
Right.
And I ain't going to tell you about that, Carlton.
Why?
It was some shenanigans going on the base.
What do you mean?
Shenanigans.
Like,
I'm like Huggy Lowdown on the Tom Jonas show. It was some shenanigans.
like,
Because
you know I'm asking you what? You just set me up here. Let's go.
well, when the husband's away, sometimes the wife tended to play.
Okay.
And they didn't know if they were going to come back.
Uh-huh.
So when they came back, baby calling somebody else daddy, and it was some stuff going on, and people found some other people in their homes that were not there when they left. It was a hot mess.
You know, we just did an interview last week and heard really pretty much the same story.
What I'm saying, right?
Mhm,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah. This is behind the scenes after they came back.
Right.
You know, because we were there, and after some of the soldiers came back, and stuff going on, people trying to kill each other. You know, the man ain't been gone but 6 months, and you already done moved JoJo in, and the baby calling him daddy. Hot mess. I just stayed clear
So
and wrote my letters.
I think from what I understand, there was a certain amount of life taking.
Yes.
Yeah. So
All kinds of stuff.
I understand. Okay. All right. Well, we can back away from that. What you feel? Okay. First duty base.
I went to Fort Gordon.
How long were you there?
Well, that was my first place they shipped me out before they sent me out to the infantry unit.
So how long were you there? Just a couple of months?
Yeah, until they
All right.
sent
And
us out.
What was your job while you were there? Did you have a job? Or
I don't
just
even
like
remember.
on call
You know,
service?
we're just, it was so, what's the word I want to use?
I guess you
We
guys
were-
have had a lot of time on your hands. Have you?
Not really. We were shocked. I'm gonna tell you why I was shocked.
Uh-huh.
The reason I was shocked when I got that call,
Right.
they said we're gonna put you on current active, because you go when you're in the ROTC and the reserves, you're on and off active duty anyway, because you have to do it over the summertime. You have to do those weekends, so you're on and off.
So you in reserve?
I started off in the reserves.
Oh, okay.
And then I got put on active duty.
And you were in Georgia while you were in the reserve?
Yes.
Okay.
But the thing
Did you
about
have a
it is,
civilian job while you?
I was in school.
Oh, you were going to school? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
And so what really threw me off was the fact that President George Bush was fishing the very day, the day prior to them calling me saying, we putting you on active duty for this Iraqi, this war. And I was just devastated. I'm like, I just saw the president fishing.
Right.
And now you trying to put me on active duty for war. You told me you wouldn't do that if I was in school. And I'm 5 days from going to my first class.
You didn't have a contract?
I did, but listen, a lot of stuff is null and void when there's a war.
Got it.
Once a war has been declared.
Right.
So
So that's the priority.
yeah, it's a priority.
Got it. No matter what you're doing in your life.
And so that's why they like, ladies, you put yourself in a predicament where you impair your ability to fight, that could cause you a dishonorable discharge with becoming pregnant.
Pregnant, yeah.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, so, okay, did you do any active duty?
Yes, 15 months.
Oh, you did, initially?
No, from the war. Remember I told you I went to Fort Riley, Kansas.
Okay, so first you went in the reserve.
I was in the reserves.
All right.
And then I was put on active duty.
Mhm.
Actually, I took a little time period off from school to go in the Army. So I was on active duty. I had to be on active duty to do my training.
Right,
My
okay.
Fort say I'm used to training. So I was on active duty for a small period of time
Okay.
before I went back to school and got in the ROTC program, because you have to be on active duty to do your training.
Okay, all right,
I joined ROTC, okay?
right,
And I took a break from school because I had to do basic training, which was several weeks,
right,
a couple of months. And then I had to do my AIT training to be qualified as a 91 Alpha, which is a medical specialist. So that's about 6, 7, 8 months. All of that was active duty,
okay,
okay?
Right.
So I did all of that. Then I went back to school. So I probably was on active duty almost a year with the basic training and then my AIT training, okay?
Uh-huh.
Then I went back to school and I would be a reservist,
Oh,
okay?
Mhm.
Then they called me on active duty, back on active duty, because of what was going on with Operation Desert Storm.
Okay, in the Middle East.
Yes, so I started active duty, then I went to reservist to go back to school, and then I came back on active duty for what was going on in the Middle East.
Okay, so,
And then when I got out of there, I said, God, if you get me out of this.
All right,
But
so-
I did get out in 90, I finished in 91.
in 91.
And then I went back to school and I graduated college in 92, because I was supposed to graduate with the class in 91, but I was put on active duty,
Uh-huh.
so I couldn't graduate with them. And so I came back, I went right back to school after we finished that tour, and I came back and graduated with the class in 92. I was done in 91 because they sent us back, and I went back to school and I graduated Clark in 92.
And what'd you get a degree in?
Business administration.
Gotcha, okay.
With a concentration in marketing.
Besides the places that you've already mentioned being stationed, where else did you get to travel while you were in the service?
Again, we lived in Germany, and while in Germany, I got to go to Spain. We got to go to a lot of those countries overseas while over there. I actually was there when the Berlin Wall was still up.
Okay,
So I got an opportunity to see the wall. And contrary to our belief, the wall is only about 6 foot. It was only about 6 foot.
right, but it was still a wall.
It had armed guards
Exactly.
walking up and down the wall, and I got a chance to witness that.
Yeah, me too.
'Cause we would go shopping
Uh-huh.
on the communist side, and you would see these guards, and you'd be like, it doesn't matter how low the wall is, nobody's gonna try to go over that wall.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
So besides Germany, where else did you go in Europe?
We went to, I went to, what's that, Italy?
Mm-hmm.
And you know that Leaning building?
Pizza.
Yes,
Pisa,
I
Pisa.
had an opportunity to go see that.
Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yes, Leaning Tower of Pisa. Italy, Spain, Berlin, you know, different parts of Germany because I played sports
Oh, okay.
while I was there.
What sports did you play?
I ran cross country.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I played basketball.
Staying in touch with people. Did you have any problem communicating with your family back home the entire time you were in the service?
Writing letters was our, you know,
That was a big thing.
that was a big thing. And, you know, I pretty much remember just writing letters. I don't remember, I talked to my mom every once in a while, but not a lot. It was just such a tense environment with what was going on. Again, I'm at an infantry unit. Any 24 hours, you could be loading up with your backpack.
Where you were stationed, did the people either from your brother or sister or your own, you know, company from your unit, did you witness a lot of casualties come home?
Not a lot of. I didn't witness a lot of casualties coming home, but a lot of them went over.
Okay, you saw a lot
yeah.
be deployed.
Yeah, that
What is
came
a lot?
with me.
Hundreds, thousands?
I can't remember.
Millions?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was enough for me to be on pins and needles because we were there as support, and then they started ship. As a medic, they needed medics.
Okay.
So we were top priority to be shipped overseas. So
Right.
it was very nerve-wracking at that time.
Well, you weren't a prisoner of war or anything like that?
No, I was not.
Okay. How was the food in the service?
As far as I remember, it was okay.
Wasn't bad?
I wasn't thinking about no food. Which time you talking about now? When
you were on active duty?
Yeah, I can't even remember what the food tastes like. I was just like, God, keep me.
And throughout your entire reserve, where'd you do your 2 weeks a year?
In Georgia.
Just stayed there. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I believe at that time it was Fort Benning.
All right.
Yeah, I believe I did it. There was Fort McPherson in Atlanta, then it was Fort Benning. But I did mine in Fort Benning.
Okay. How did you get along with officers and fellow soldiers?
You might not know, I actually received a commander's accommodation medal for my level of professionalism and how I conducted myself in my job. I actually won an extra medal for that.
What other medals did you get?
Well, you know, you have the rifle, the
Marksman?
Yeah, the marksman, I got that. And I can't remember anything else. I just remember the commander's award because that was really a big deal. And I passed my rifle marksman exam.
So you go overseas?
Well, they was preparing you. They were gonna send you there anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Well, but you did have to know how to shoot.
Well, you had to qualify.
remember,
If you
medics.
didn't qualify, you weren't going overseas.
That's true.
Yeah.
But my job as a medic was to go over there and assist with the injured. So that's why they needed a lot of medics.
Right.
Not for me to go fire on the line, but to assist the wounded.
Did you use your GI Bill for anything? For
I did.
All that education?
Yeah.
Nice.
I got a monthly check to help with school.
Good. They paid for a part of mine also. Have you maintained any close friendships since you separated from the military?
I have some Facebook friends. I haven't seen any that actually went to Fort Riley. But my childhood best friend, get this, her brother was stationed in Fort Riley, and I grew up with that family when I was up there. So I go up there, and we out at a club, and I see him across the room, and I'm yelling. He's like, who is this girl yelling, screaming, because he's like my brother. And he's like, I messed up his mat game with all the women because he had his little sister there now that he had to take care of. And so I saw, and he actually went over there. He has PTSD. He gets a check for it now,
Right,
a monthly check, because of the chemical warfare that they were exposed to. But he was up there at Fort Riley, Kansas.
Okay. How's he doing?
doing all right.
Good.
Now that, you know, and you can attest to this, Carlton, you don't necessarily, you know, you may not be diagnosed with PTSD now. He wasn't diagnosed for like 15 years later.
Right.
So, and then there's triggers.
Right.
You know, he started thinking we were all after him, and we like, go get tested.
Right. There you go.
And so he did, and now he gets a check for that because of the exposure.
Yeah, trauma is nothing to.
Trauma can be triggered.
It's not a game. Yeah.
It's not.
It's very serious.
It is very serious.
I'm
And
glad-
I'm gonna tell
glad he
you,
survived
even
it.
though I did not physically go there, it's just like if we were in a situation now where you don't know if somebody's gonna call you and tell you got to be shipped out to battle right now. And that's how my whole time was spent there for those 12, 15 months.
Okay. So, so I don't even have to ask you this question. You already answered it. Was your job stressful? The answer is yes. Okay. I think we got through that. Okay, just a few more questions. Did you keep a diary?
I did not.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, so where
That
were
would
you
have
when
been
you
great.
separated?
I had a boyfriend who went overseas,
Uh-huh.
and when he came, you could just tell the difference.
Uh-huh.
Just from being exposed to the trauma.
Changed his
Oh
entire
yeah.
personality.
I was there when some of the guys came back too. It was devastating.
Mhm. You were where?
Still at the base.
Right.
Yeah, because
That's what I
if
was
they would
wondering.
if they would get injured or stuff,
Right.
for different reasons, someone would come back.
Mhm.
Not a lot, because they were constantly sending people out.
Right.
But they were different. Just with what they had witnessed, you know, just not knowing from one day to the next if you're gonna die.
And psychosis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, then they had the, you know how you got the, not grenades, what's the things when you step on them?
Mine.
Mines. The
Shrapnel?
mine, yeah. And then seeing the guy next to you, head blow off, that's traumatizing.
Mhm.
And that's why we need to thank our veterans, the ones that have gone before us. Freedom is not free. A price was paid. And I remember when I was being shipped to Fort Riley, Kansas, I said the world has no clue what's going on right now.
Right.
Everybody's going on about their business. They going to the soccer games. They hanging out at the movies. And we're literally going to fight to keep this country free.
Well, you know, my greatest contention about the military is that people sign up for it, but you sign a contract, and part of that contract is if you're given orders to go into combat, you're going.
Period.
So, in other words, we sign off on a contract that winds up being a job for us, whereas it might cost us our lives.
Absolutely.
And people, how do you absorb that? You know, being a civilian, is, you know, so, and then you'll see I saw a lot of people go into service. This is your interview, and I saw people doing all kind of crazy stuff to get kicked out dishonorably.
Absolutely.
But, you know.
So you could relate to what I was saying
Oh,
about
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
That happened a lot when I was.
They
sitting
were afraid.
there. Yeah.
They came up with all kinds of excuses, but you know, back years ago, some of them didn't have an option.
Well, when I was it was that Iran-Iraq conflict.
Mhm.
So yeah, we were nervous about going. You know, sitting in the European theater that close to it.
Yes.
So it was something to think about. Okay. What did you do after the service?
I immediately went back to school because I didn't want to, and graduated that following year. And then after that, I interviewed, and that's how I ended up here. I interviewed for a job in Atlanta, and they created a position here
In Florida.
In Florida.
Doing what?
Don't laugh. I interviewed for the Scott's company.
Okay.
So when you think of Scott's, what do you think of?
Tape
No, okay. When I thought of the Scott's
or
company,
paper goods.
paper.
Gotcha.
It was fertilizer. I was selling cow manure.
All right.
Well, no, it wasn't all right. I got the job and everything.
What was wrong with it?
Nothing. I ended up working there for 5 years because you know what?
What?
I believe people buy you. The product is a byproduct.
Got it.
And so I did quite well.
Oh.
I was in a predominantly Caucasian male industry.
Mhm.
No other females pretty much at that time, maybe one.
Uh-huh.
And I was a minority. So
Well, that's the other question is, what was it like being a black female in the military at that time?
When I was there, it was other black females there. I didn't really feel.
Discrimination?
No, I
Okay,
didn't. No.
all right.
I mean, they didn't lighten up on us. We still had to do everything everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Still discipline and
yeah, it was
regimentation.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, there was still that going on. Okay. What did you? Okay. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
It made me think about war and really the sacrifice that is really made for the country. And it just made me think about our country overall, that we really don't have a clue. You know, we see conflicts in other countries on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, but those things are really happening. Some people really don't have freedom in their country. And because we've been spoiled, because we've had so many soldiers pay the price to keep us free, we really don't understand what we have. And the veterans are underappreciated for the sacrifice. And that's another thing that leads me to why I do what I do in the community now. I host a numerous amount of veterans events, making sure that the veterans know about resources, appreciating them, educating them, because veterans are not appreciated enough for the sacrifice that was made. Freedom costs.
Okay. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
Well, I appreciate my military background, especially the basic training, and it also provided structure. It provided, I was not unstructured, but you can always improve. Even with the fear of managing fear during that time when I didn't know from one day to the next if I was going to be shipped right off the combat. Just understanding how to manage your emotions and not allow your emotions to manage you. So I learned that during that period. I'm not easily swayed one way or another, I'm pretty black and white on some things. I do try to live by the biblical principles. You're not going to be able to convince me to do something that I believe is wrong.
Right.
And I think my military background has a lot to do with that.
Okay.
And you know what? In combat, everybody bleed red. You're not worrying about what that neighbor look like. If you need somebody to cover your back, you just need to make sure they're going to cover your back.
Would you say everybody what?
Everybody bleeds red.
Got you. Right. Okay. True.
And you want to just know you got somebody trustworthy with you in that foxhole, or somebody trustworthy when they've trained you in that gas chamber that will help you. And that's, loyalty, being trustworthy, being prepared. I just did a talk on that this weekend at a Veterans Eat Breakfast. How are you prepared? You got to be prepared for war. You got to get in shape. You got to have mental toughness. You got to be physically inclined, making sure your body's up to par. Because with war, there's wear and tear, emotionally and physically.
Gotcha. Anything else that you'd like to add that you haven't mentioned already?
No, thank you for the opportunity.
Any of my guys got questions for this lady? Not one question? We all good?
I don't hear what I want to do.
Oh, he heard you. Okay.
After I worked for that hospice company, I really uncovered my love for veterans. I came from a
Was
veteran.
that here locally or in Georgia?
No, that was here. I'm
Okay.
here now. Because I worked here for at the hospice company for about 8 years. I've been working on my own for almost 2 years now. I left them a couple of years ago.
Still doing the same thing?
I'm doing my own business now.
Okay.
With two primary focuses, one on the veteran community and one highlighting positive black male leadership, okay, called Project 12, just trying to change the narrative for the next generation of men to see positive images versus a lot of things that they're seeing negative being depicted in the media about men that look like them. But back on the veterans piece, I do in the community, I host several events where I bring different department heads from the VA and organizations that offer services for veterans together, and I host a ton of symposiums throughout the year, about 12 to 15 every year. This is my second year doing it, bringing these departments together, because one of the things I was hearing when I worked for that hospice company is, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what I'm eligible for, I can't get through to the VA. So I just connected the community with the VA and those services that were available to the veteran community. And we do that through from the Treasure Coast all the way down to Broward.
Okay. All right, well, I think we have the timeline down pat. Again, today I have Tyrell, I got Fostel, Amari, Kanar, and Celine, my students. And is there anybody got any questions? Everybody good? Is there anything else that you'd like to add that you feel like you have not so far?
No, I'm thankful for this opportunity. I actually was honored to have won the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award back in 2022, which is also in the Library of Congress. So I'm excited about this interview as well.
Okay.
You know, putting a mark in history, a positive mark.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I want to thank you very much for the interview, and also thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.